One piece of advice. If you have settled for a middle-aged, average-looking Filipina, don't make a video about your former allegedly beautiful ex-Filipino girlfriend. This is my reaction video to a video posted by another YouTuber giving advice about meeting and having a relationship with a Filipina.
Okay, on this show, we're going to talk about something I think that's really important, and it's not something that I really never touched up upon before in the past. And some of the mistakes that I think a lot of, including myself, that foreigners make, they take interest in the Philippines, they take interest in a Filipina. Okay, turn back the wheel of time, and I've discussed this before. The first Filipina back in 2016. Absolutely. And I met after communicating for, I wouldn't say a substantial amount of time. It wasn't that terribly long. And I decided she was, well, pretty enough. She was interesting enough to want to take a chance and come and meet. So we did. We met over in Cebu, stayed at a few places, and then kind of meandered over to Santa Fe, and that's how my Santa Fe adventure started, just to let you know how this thing actually progressed. Now, I don't like the quote in particular, Tim K, but on his last shows, he did kind of touch upon a few things that I think I would have to agree with. One of the problems that a lot of foreigners make is that they hook up with what they find to be, everybody's taste is different of course, but they hook up to what they find to be a very attractive younger woman. Now in this case, she was in her 30s, so she
Stay away from underage women.
12 years old, 14 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old. She was in her 30s, approaching her mid-30 area. Very attractive girl, looked a lot younger than her age. She had a lot of Spanish mix in her, and there's a difference actually. If you ever met a Filipina who actually has a lot of Hispanic, background, the mixture is really unique. Prettier eyes, a little lighter complexion, very attractive, very attractive. You could tell the difference actually. Okay, so moving on. Now forgive me, I'm going to be kind of walking around doing a story. I could have done this on the beach, but I'm not yet out of the house this morning. I'm just kind of kicked back mode. So I kind of want to reiterate. I want to get back, get in a time machine, and I want to share something with you guys that it's not something new, but maybe I could elaborate it on a little bit more. And the mistakes that I don't want to see you make because it happened to me, and if it happened to me, it could happen to any one of you guys, and I'm sure as hell that it probably did. Okay, so the meeting time came. And we met at the airport. And from there, we went to a shitty place. We went to, what is it? Not Red Doors or whatever the hell it's called. But then we went to Regency later on. But we had made a trip to Balamban to meet her parents, her family. That's kind of going in fast forward. Okay. But it is a little bit. There's a lot in between. Basically, we made a trip to Santa Fe. It was the height of excitement of meeting somebody new. Of course, somebody younger. And who was, I would think, would be attracted by most people's observation. Felt like I hit the goddamn jackpot. You know that feeling, guys? Yeah. Guys getting older, you can't cheat Father Time. You can't do that. But you get this false sense that you are by being with somebody certainly 20 years younger than you. And there's some people that get them that are 50 years younger. Of course, that's totally ridiculous, but I'm not going to go back into that, how I feel about that. Anyway, to get back to the story directly, we met a family out there, and I became close to this day. In fact, we're even godparents to their children. We went on a trip to Santa Fe, and great old time. Oh man, a seaside village, beautiful water, white sands, You gotta imagine, it's like, come to paradise. We used to sing, go, paradise, paradise. We're going to paradise. That's when we went to Paradise Beach. It was a surprise. So at the time, our friends there, they father, whatever, they had a bonka boat. I said, let's surprise her. I had spent some time with her, and prior to that, of course, on the internet for a while. I don't know, 5 months or something, which is not, as things go with foreigners, that's not really a short period of time. There's some people that meet somebody on there a week and they're out in the Philippines and they're just, asking for marriage. But what did happen was, as many foreigners feel, I didn't want this one to get away. Heard about the guy that went fishing, comes back with a big, huge story. The one that got away, it was a big one. Well, to me, this was a big one. It didn't necessarily get away, but let's go on with the story. What did get away was my feelings went in hyperdrive. So much so that I went out and bought a ring. Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness I didn't spend a lot of money. I certainly spent a lot more money than somebody else did on an engagement ring. I can tell you that much. A hell of a lot more, but not to get into that. Okay, it was real. The ring was real. So we did a surprise thing, and we were going to take this. She had no idea what was going on. And we took a ride to a very attractive place in Santa Fe called Paradise Beach. And they also have Paradise Cove. They might have a different name for it right now. Really nice beach. Not a big one, but it was really nice. Nobody there that type of day. So we took a bonka boat ride. Okay. And the whole plan was I was going to ask her to marry me. And I know what you're saying, and you're exactly right. You don't have to tell me. Because see, what happens is your mind goes off into this tangent. It's like, holy shit. And this is a atypical story for those people who come out to the Philippines for the first time. And they are fortunate enough to meet somebody they deem to be very attractive, very perky, lively, although kind of, I don't know, introverted in some way. And I was like in heaven. So what happened was the big surprise was that my shitty camera as it was, and I have the footage, well, I had the footage, but I'm sure somebody out there has it. It's my SD cards, which is all fucked up. We surprised her. And I go, here we are, paradise, paradise. We're all singing paradise. And she really loved the beach. So I asked her to come over here for a minute, stand over here, and right away, one of the friends got on the camera. I got a surprise for you, whatever I said. I don't remember exactly words. That's when I proposed to her. She was a little shocked, put it on her ring, and she accepted, and all that. And she was like, totally shocked. She didn't know what to think. Because you see, I wasn't thinking. As I said, this is atypical of what happens to a lot of foreigners that get really caught up in this marvelous mix, this culture of the Filipino culture, where they have a really eclectic mix of either Chinese or Spanish, and it produces, in many cases, some very attractive women out here. Okay, that's what gets you carried away. Without getting to really know everything, for all I know, she could have been married. But we'll get on to that. So I surprised her, we did all that thing, and everything was just great and all that. But this was just too quick. I mean, come on, really, guys. Don't do this. That's a big disclaimer, whatever you want to call it on here. Don't do that. I got caught up in that just like other people have. Unfortunately, this is a very common experience that foreigners have. They go into hyperdrive. They don't want to let this fish get away because they never had a fish that they thought that was like that. Very unique fish, okay? Yeah, colorful fins and all, okay. So yeah, okay, went on our business and stayed in Santa Fe, had fun. We went out, did karaoke. She was having a good time. She got friendly with one of the hotel owners there. I brought them to the bar. They were drinking. There was a live band at the time, but the Blue Ice it was called. And she had a great old time. Drinking them Red Bull. She knew how to put them down. I'll tell you that. There were some comical things with her too. I always talk about the kidney thing, but we'll get into that. Just to put a little humor into this thing, which probably needs a little bit more humor if there wasn't already humor on this already. The whole incident, how it happened. So anyway, bottom line, we wound up at the Crown Regency. Well, actually, while we were in Santa Fe, she was on the phone with her mom. She has gotten a ring at the time. And this is the interesting part, how the culture works. And she was telling her mom that we got engaged. Her mom probably being shocked or not so shocked, or just laughing her ass off at one point because maybe she was married. Because I don't know. I didn't know. I don't know to this day. See, I was invited to Balambam, and we did go afterwards, but I'm getting ahead of myself. She's talking to her mom on the phone, and her mom's asking, what kind of a ring is it? So she was trying to describe it. It had a big blue stone on there. Okay. And to try to kind of interpret the value of the ring, which would give an interpretation of how much money I had. That's kind of how it works out here. That's it. Then she wanted to talk to me on the phone. So Vanessa was her name, my girlfriend at the time. The dust in the wind relationship, you know. And my mom wants to talk to you. I say, hey, what's up? She goes, Frank. That's her accent, Frank. You know, my birthday coming up on the 18th. No, it was the 28th. What are you going to buy me for my birthday? And I'm like, I just made a joke out of it or something. I talked to Vanessa afterwards. I said, she's basically asking me to buy her something for her birthday? Oh, my mom's just fooling around, whatever. No, she wasn't fooling around. Okay, so it was a mandatory thing. After the first few days of being, it was a mandatory thing. She already made arrangements to go to Balamban to meet her family, which I did, and they were all very nice. I liked them. I liked their brothers, and one of them could have been her husband, for all I knew. And for all I even know now, to this day, I don't know. Because this is a little trick they pull on you. To bring in money from the family, they will actually, not all of them, you know, they're not all creepy people, Filipinos and Filipinas. There are a lot of good people out here. They don't all do that. Some of them are very sincere, so I want to make a notice on here, a disclaimer that, you know, there are good Filipinos that are not looking to use you. I know in your mind you think that they're all using everybody. I'm not going to put argument on that, but let's continue with the story. So I met them and everything else. I had a few little goodies I brought with me, you know, and I gave a really nice kind of an army knife, a big old kind of a combat knife. Where the hell I got that? How I got that through customs, I really don't know. I gave it to her brother. I had this really nice kind of a long white shirt and a very casual tropical type shirt, you know, that I would never see myself wearing. This particular one, I gave it to the other brother. Well, they were happy as a clam with me. Now, before we got to the house, we stopped in a supermarket in Balamban, and I said, I want to try that homemade pork adobo. So I bought a bunch of pork and potatoes, and she told her mom, okay, make up some adobo. So we went over there. It was hot, guys. It was like April of 2016. There was this La Nino thing going on. And when I say hot, it was, you know, the hottest time of the year. And quite frankly, I looked like shit. I did some footage of myself on the trike going over there. I didn't even want to look at it because I was tired from all the traveling and then this and that. You know, I was just tired, period. Looking like shit. Hardly worth a presentation to her family, and I'll be the one to admit that. So we got there, the last trike ride to the house, we had to follow a trail to where they lived. It was a simple house, maybe 2 bedrooms. You walk in there, there's like a little living area where they got a fan and a TV, and I spent most of my time under that fan. I was exhausted, I was dehydrated, I was hotter than hell. 2016 El Nino, whatever. And I just required a lot of bottles going in their freezer back and forth. The brothers even cut up some coconuts, gave me some coconut water, and they were very accommodating, very nice, very nice. And that was a requirement. My parents, I already told them, so we really have to go there. So was this some big elaborate plan? Was it a plan? I don't know. So what happened was, I was leaving It was the last day. I was going to get ready to leave. So we're at the Regency, and, you know, she was kind of like, I think she was feeling kind of rushed. I got that feeling, and I was. We had not known each other for a very long time. And I would not blame her for feeling like, shit, I don't know what to think. I said, do you have feelings for me? Well, she said, yes, but I need time to get to know you more and all that. She was being very honest, I think, at the time. How honest about everything? Was she just with me to go into a mall and buy a couple of items of clothing for her kids or something for herself, or to get some of the gifts I brought her, which was a, kind of expensive bottle of perfume. I had an old little Android piece of shit that her kids could use for playing games. And she had 2 children. Now, for all I know, that could have been, not even her children. I don't know. I don't know. Because when I went there, I didn't really see these children they were more gravitated to the auntie than they were to her. Seriously. Something didn't seem right. To this day, I still can't figure it out. I can't. I'm being honest with you. I can't figure it out. I can't. A lot of answers I don't have. But when I got home, before I went home, we were at the Regency. It was a really nice room. Considering we stayed at some shitty places. I figured I got to cap this off with a nice, comfortable place, clean, decent place to stay in. So we went to the Regency at the time. It was a nice room, by the way. It was actually a really nice room. One of the rooms. These days, I don't know. I went there not terribly long ago, and I wasn't impressed. But anyway, this was a different room. Maybe it was a more expensive room, and it was nicely appointed. All hardwood, whatever it was in there, it was very nice. Shower room was, CR was beautiful, tiled up, and fancy. Anyway, not to get into that. Had the amenities, pretty much. And I remember seeing her and saying, well, I really don't want to go, but I really have to. She was very quiet. And I'm not sure why. It wasn't like an emotional send-off. And when we went there to wait for her taxi to go home, it wasn't an emotional thing that she's running up to me and hugging me, and I'm going to miss you and all that. There was nothing like that. She got in the cab, we said our goodbyes, she looked at me, and they took off. That's what it was. I have no clue to this day at all the real story behind it. Now, I got home. On the way home, I'm all excited. Good news to tell whatever family. Met this great woman. I even shared pictures on a plane with somebody. And all excitement. I get home and I try to contact her. I had no contact. I couldn't contact her for 9 consecutive days. So my brain is going into overdrive into what the fuck is going on. Finally, I don't know, I got a hold of her. She claims that she ran like a little internet cafe thing. She claims that her CPU drive, whatever, was stolen. I'm thinking, why don't they just take the whole computer? I don't know, but her CPU was gone. She wasn't answering for dog shit. Then finally she did, and we talked, and I don't know much where it went from there. It's just that I was just feeling like totally in purgatory. I wasn't in heaven and I wasn't in hell. I didn't have any answers. Where would our relationship stand? I gave her a fucking ring to get engagement, and I was going home to regroup. She basically had told me that, she's not really ready to go to the United States. She has a couple of kids. She's got her family. And she could have been totally honest. She could have, that it was me that was rushing everything. But my mind went off into different tangents. And then I saw this kind of breaking apart, falling apart. I didn't want to live in the Philippines at the time. I was going to try to get her to come over to me. So maybe she was doing some really very valid thinking. Said, yeah, dude seems like a good guy and all that. He's a good catch, perhaps. But then fading out. And I'm standing there, I'm in Hawaii, and I'm like, emotional wreck. I lost, I'm not kidding, 20 to 25 pounds in 1 month. 1 month. And I was a wreck. I mean, so much to look forward to. I was euphoric when I met her. Now, the reason I'm going over this story again is for a learning lesson to anybody who wants to go to consider it an exotic place, perhaps, exotic women. And when you get your first taste of these exotic women, man, you're on the hook. You're sold, American. Sold, American. You're sold. I was sold. At least I thought I was. So to this day, I don't know. I mean, I tried to get things out of her. It was hard to get a hold of her, and I had to sting on my message. I was calling to her, and all of a sudden, for some of the messages all came at once to her. She said, "How do you do that with your phone?" And she did get on the phone. She must have had about 20 messages come to her all at once. The system was not delivering the messages somehow. But she must have had 20 messages from me that all came in. What is this person to really think? And it'll be in all fairness to her. All fairness to her. A woman, like anybody else or a man, needs time to think about it. Now, as I said, I don't quote everything Tim Kaye says, but he says that, and I agree on it, wait at least 2 years before you get serious about anything with any woman in the Philippines or before you buy a property. Now, fortunately for me, it's going to be my 8th anniversary, actually, of being with my girlfriend, so 8 years have gone by. And it was only less than 2 years ago, way less than that I bought a house. So I did everything proper, prim and proper. Okay, got to know her, blah, blah, spent time with her. And even in the time I was waiting to come back to the Philippines and, be with her, still had the house, of course. And was getting money from rent and all that and Social Security. So it could work out. So I went back and I was to stay there, which I did, here. So, I mean, things kind of progressed and they worked out. I wound up meeting her, who I'm with today, and that worked out real well. And we didn't rush into anything. Even when I first met her, it wasn't jumping in bed. It didn't happen like that for a little bit. Okay. And it was a test of also my sincerity also. She was pretty impressed I wasn't just trying to jump bed to her. Even if I wanted to kiss her, I had to ask permission. Well, I felt like I'd ask permission. She thought it was very gentlemanly of me, and it was, I guess. So that worked out okay. Her trust in me as a person, how serious I was. And the rest is pretty much history. So I'm out here, and I wind up moving to the very place where it kind of all happened, really. When you think about it, was Santa Fe. Because it did have some beautiful beaches. It was very impressive to me, a seaside village. Excuse me. This tea is rather bitter. Oh. Pardon me. And here I am. And I do have a house. And I did the proper thing. Waited the proper time. And I did everything that I should have done properly in order. I learned from my mistake. Yeah, there was a couple of women I met in between out there, of course, but that didn't work out. But it worked out for the best. And I waited till I bought a house. It's not something she asked me for. It worked out well for me because I don't have to pay rent. That worked out real well. And it also provides something for her future, which is a great thing if you feel you got the woman that you want to be with. That getting your ducks in a row type thing. So it worked out proper for me, but it doesn't work out proper for everyone. So I guess the reason I'm doing this story again is to say to you that it's really easy to fall for an attractive Filipina. They're mesmerizing, or they could be mesmerizing. Something very exotic about them. If you've never been to another country, you're meeting somebody from an entirely different culture. It's like, wow. You're knocked over. You're euphoric without being on drugs or alcohol. Well, alcohol is a drug. You're euphoric. But you gotta measure out things, you gotta investigate. And if you're that serious about any woman, like I was with the first one, I should have done a little more investigation and Except the fact that maybe at the time I was not going to live in the Philippines. And that was probably a deal buster or a deal breaker right there. If she did have family like she did, I mean, I met them. And, the brothers actually lived in bamboo huts with the baby and everything. Real, Cubas they lived in. The mother and aunt lived in, well, it was bamboo. It was a house. It certainly did resemble a regular house. And a very small place. But they lived in harmony where they lived. Brothers were cool as shit. I liked their brothers. Could have worked out. So, to this day, I mean, I really wish that she would have written me at some time and just said to me, just to ease your mind, even if she fucked me over purposely, if that's what she did. Now, you're right, Frank, I really wasn't into you, or I really didn't want to have to come to America. I felt pressured, I felt pushed. Don't do that to a Filipino. They're not that desperate to be with you, and neither they don't all want to live in your country. Some of them are quite happy of where they live, and they don't want to be away from their family. Keep that in mind, okay? So that's kind of my story on that. I hope you're learning from this if you've never heard this story before. I don't mind sharing it because it's something that I already did. I think I've talked about it several times since I've been on YouTube. Maybe not in as much detail. I'm not sure. It's been quite a while since I've actually talked about it. Don't be in a rush. I know. No, you feel that you're getting older. While the iron is hot. Do it while the iron is hot. Get on it. Get it going. Hook that fish. No, man. You're never too old that you can't wait a little longer to investigate the situation a little bit further. Don't be opening up your pocket to anyone. Okay? You're not a walking ATM, and I will never be a walking ATM to anyone. But in that situation, I wasn't really a walking ATM. I was a little bit frugal with the money. In fact, she even said I was cutting put. And at the time, I didn't know what to do, because I counted my money. Well, I counted my money all the time to make sure that what I brought to me was still there. I wasn't that stupid. That's why. Because it's not a good thing. They call it counting. And Filipinos don't like when a man counts their money. It means that you have to think about your money or how much you're going to spend on me. You got to count your money on how much you want to spend. Well, yeah, absolutely so. It ain't your wife. You're in the beginning of a relationship, and number one, you got to make sure your money's still there where you kept it. She may know where you stuffed it in a sock or somewhere. You don't know how observant she is or was. And, you're not there to go spend your wad of money on her. You're going to be nice, and you want to impress the family. You bought maybe your kids a little item of clothing, this and that, but of course she went to the more expensive clothing. It wasn't the 50% off table in the malls. It was the brand, of course, because everything about her, even the sunglasses were expensive that she wore. She took pride of not going in the sun because she didn't want to get darkened skin. She had light skin. And I could produce those photos sometime, but I probably won't do that. Who knows, I might, if Gil is okay with it, because it's history anyway, but, she was attractive. Okay, so the moral of the story is, no matter how old you are, don't be in a rush to be in a relationship with a Filipina. I don't care how old you are. Save yourself the time and trouble. It really didn't do me physically and mentally very well when you don't have the real answers. I never really knew, and again, to this day, what really transpired. You know that saying, inquiring minds need to know. Well, I had an inquiring mind. That hit me like a fucking RPG. Okay, my brother seen it in me. I was a fucking wreck. Because my time has come. I met a chick that, wow, it had the wow factor. Okay, the old-time wow factor. But it's the wow factor that gets you into trouble because you don't think You don't think with your brain, you're thinking with your heart, and that's what gets you into trouble all the time. Don't fall for the first Filipina that you meet. I don't care how good looking you may find her, or cute, or bubbly, or whatever. From when I first met her and we were in the taxi cab, she's singing along to some songs on the radio that the taxi driver was playing. Bubbly, she had her bag packed to be with me, and of course she made sure she had room in there for any little frivolities that I might have bought her. But I'm not going to down her because the relatively small time that I spent with her was very pleasurable in many ways. It was. I will never forget those days. To this day, I don't forget it. But fortunately, I'm in a good place now. You move on. And you appreciate what you have now. And I didn't do bad. I didn't do bad at all. Certainly, it would be really interesting to actually hear from her, even after so many years, and say, hey, are you okay? How you doing? Of course, she probably moved on all these years into a new relationship or something, or got married, or maybe she was already married. Like I said, when you don't know, you just don't fucking know. Okay, good story? Let me know if you thought it was a great story. And if you had an experience like that yourself, let me know. You could share that. Thanks for listening, and catch you on the next show. You know how it goes.